Hey guys, welcome to season 4 of East Coast Rams podcast. I am your co-host Ashton here with my awesome co-host Zach. Before we start, just want to give a shout out. We just hit 200 subscribers on YouTube. I think we're at 202 right now. So if you don't mind, can you please go subscribe and like if you're on the YouTubes, or leave a comment and tell us what your overall reaction was to 2023, the Rams 2023 season, and tell us what you think 24 will come with. Another ring, maybe, hopefully. And we are here to talk about that and much more. Zach, I'm just going to say a few times call for me to bring out the ginger ale, few times in life. The way getting married, maybe when I have a child born. But the Rams winning Super Bowl, definitely up there. But the 49ers losing a Super Bowl, ooh, few things are much sweeter in this world than just seeing the Chiefs win. So good to you,
Hey,
Taylor
cheers to
Swift.
that.
Did a lot
Yeah,
of the work.
cheers to that. Yeah, man, being a Rams fan, we always just have to root against those 49ers. Their fan base just always doesn't seem to be it doesn't always seem to be a great fan base to us. Um, I was fine with Taylor Swift. I have no problems with the Taylor Swift and Travis Kelsey. She can take more than 54 seconds out of a Super Bowl to show off. It didn't bother me at all. And I was, you know, it's one of those things where you really don't like repeats. You don't like the same team winning year after year. They've won their third. Um, in a relatively short period of time. But I'm all for it. I really do like Patrick Mahomes. I do like Travis Kelsey. I like some of the structure that they have as a team. And yeah, so very interesting game that came out, and we can kind of dive into that if you want to. Very boring first half. Um, very boring.
Yes. Yes.
I was
But
just like,
Zach, before you get into it, I was told by a number of 49er fans numerous times what the Rams did in 21 was super easy. When we had a super team full of people that they called washed at the time, but let's ignore that. A super team, and it was just super easy that if the 49ers ever did that they would win a Super Bowl just easily. And you see them go out, trade for countless D linemen, completely load up their roster with highest paid players at number positions, 5 in their position groups. And once again,
ha-
we are
half
talking
their
about,
half their offensive was all pros.
yeah. So once again, we are talking about them losing a Super Bowl with a roster that has literally no excuses.
Yeah, I
No
mean, and
excuses.
you look at the Rams in 2021. Yes, we had a stacked team. We had OBJ, we had Von Miller, we had Aaron Donald, we had Matthew Stafford, we had Cooper Cup, we had the players. But you also had to think of, like, we didn't have a run game. We didn't have someone like CMC who could run the ball and can catch the ball and do everything. We had running backs, and they were great for what we had, and they got us to the promised land. But you know, this 49ers team was, I wouldn't say more stacked, because again, when you compare people like, I think Brandon Ayuk is a really good wide receiver, but when you look at their depth piece outside of him, Debo Samuel is, he's a good kind of like special weapon, but as far as like an all out receiver, not at the full acclimates as a Cooper Cup or a OBJ, or even now a Puka Nakua, things like that. So you could see where, their chess pieces were CMC, Brock Purdy, who I will give full credit to Brock Purdy. I think he is, whether you call him a manager or not, I don't care. He's a good
He's so
quarterback.
good. Yeah,
Um,
he's a
and
good
and
QB.
and when you have someone like Ayuk and things like that, I think things can work really well. But Um, you can
Top 5 defense.
top 5 defense. I mean, and the defense played really well.
Yeah.
They shut out Mahomes to 3 points in the first half and 19 points really in the first 4 quarters. And to do that to Patrick Mahomes, that's almost a winning recipe. Again, it's the first person really in the Super Bowl. It's like the first person to 20 is really the who's going to win, and that happened again this year. Well, I guess it wasn't the first person because 49ers. But anyways, um, so I don't know. It's just one of those things where the 49ers, it just seemed like they choked. And whether you believe whatever their overtime and they didn't know the overtime rules, that just seems mumbo jumbo. We talked about it a little bit back and forth on X. Doesn't really seem like the outcome would have mattered. So you know, it is what it is. But it ended up being a great game at the end. Very sluggish first half, really good second
Yeah.
half. And obviously for us as Rams fans, we really wanted to see the Chiefs win it, and they did. Um, so kudos to them.
Yeah, definitely entertaining second half, back and forth game. You know, that Chiefs offense just kind of struggled so badly in the first half. And I kept on telling my coworker, and me and him were talking about it because we were watching the game. Bunch of buddies in the back were like playing darts and stuff because they were like not interested in just watching 3 and outs. And so I was talking. I said, I'm like, man, the slants, the short passes, they're there, and the Chiefs are just keep on trying to run it, and Pachinko is just not getting anything. I'm like, if you do some curls, do some slants, like stuff will open up. And me and him were like saying like different stuff they could do. And they start doing it in the third quarter. It's like, yeah, like I don't know what you guys expected to keep on pulling out Kelsey and just ignoring your weapons and just trying to either
Yeah,
throw it deep or run.
and I mean, they did have some success in that too. But again, their running
One
game, like you
play.
said, their running game was just it wasn't there. And really, it was Mahomes taking it into his own hands in the second half. I mean, he had a nice couple big run plays on his own where he was just like, nothing's happening. I'm just going to run it. Why waste the time trying to find someone open when I can get the 3, 4, 5+ yards that I need to get the first down and keep the chains moving? So I think he
That
played a
deep throw
really
should have
good
been an
game.
interception too,
Yeah.
in
Yep. I
fairness.
agree. Yeah. But I think the refs did a really good job this game. I know people keep, the 49ers fans are
Yeah.
going to say there was not enough holding calls in the second half. For the most part, there wasn't a whole lot of holding calls to begin with. Um, and so I thought it was a good game. I thought it was a clean ref game. Was there some ticky tack stuff? Maybe, but you don't want things to end on ticky tacks. And so the 49ers had a chance to win it. They did not. And the end is history. So kudos to them. Well,
They
how do you
chose to
feel? How do
take
you
a field goal.
They did. And,
Mhm.
and again, was that a bad move? No, because if your defense stops Mahomes, then you win. So, do you want to risk not getting any points and then letting Mahomes have the opportunity to kick a field goal? Or do you go back and you kick the field goal and then your defense needs to stop them to at least a field goal? It's kind of this situational awareness where, you could see it from all sides. I hated the players' excuse like, "We didn't know the rules." Well, then you need to be better players, or your coaches need to be better coaches on telling you what these rules are gonna be. Because clearly, usually when captains go out on the field, they usually kind of talk with their coach ahead of time saying, "Hey, how do you wanna handle this? Do you want should we receive it first? Do we wanna let them have it?" Things like that. And, to put all the blame, on not knowing the rules is ludicrous unless it was a coaching mistake. Which, going into my next topic before we kind of wrap up, since this is a Rams podcast, we don't want to focus too much on the Chiefs 49ers. But how do you feel about 49ers getting rid of their DC after 1 year? Is this a scapegoat? Was Shanahan scapegoating, a failure of not getting to the promised land and getting that ring to his DC?
All I'm gonna say is if they get a touchdown on that first drive in overtime, they're not losing. At least they don't lose because the Chiefs score a touchdown.
Yeah, I mean
Unless if they
they
went
would
for
have
2, which they were planning on. But my point is, it's like, you can't just blame him. Like, he did his job, and for the most part, he kept you, like, he gave you like a whole half of Mahomes only getting 3 points for you to rack up the score, and that's what the
and
49ers do, and they're
and they
supposed
didn't
to be
rack
a
up the
ball
score.
control team, and they didn't, and that was because of Shanahan. That's on Shanahan and the way he called the game and how he progressively got away from the run game in the second half. At least try to do some, like, running back tosses, some screens, stuff like that. They didn't even do that. They did one wide receiver screen, and it just, it's just playing scared or play calling scared. And I think Shanahan has proven in his career, like, he can't win the big game. He can keep on saying, like, we played in a lot of big games. Like, I've proven I can win them. You have the most blown leads, double-digit blown leads in playoff history as a coach.
Yeah. Yep. And
And
in
I'm not even
2021.
gonna talk about the overtime rule. That got changed 2 years ago. If the players don't know it, I don't care. That's on them. Like,
Well, I mean,
no
it's a
one
silly
should
rule that
care.
I think I mean, the rule, yeah, like you said, the rule has been in place for 2 years. It's a rule that makes sense. I mean, you're playing in the it's a one and done game style.
They
It
would
makes sense for the
lost over
playoffs in the Super
the
Bowl.
they would have lost because the old rules. Like,
Well, and
they
it
don't
doesn't even
win.
matter. The ref explained the rules as the coin was like before the coin toss. So again, I don't really fall for it. But so the only other reason I was bringing up the DC was is now the rumors are that Brandon Staley could be looked at to go to the 49ers as their DC, which I would find very interesting. Um,
Uh, yeah. Uh, I don't know how that's gonna play out. I'm not gonna say if the 49ers hire him, it's a bad call. I thought he should get a second chance at a DC position. It now, granted, I have no clue how that's gonna end up. Like, he was so bad as a Chargers head coach. And his defenses did nothing when they had really solid rosters. Not great, but good rosters. Definitely should have been not like bottom of the league like it was with
yeah,
him there. So
and I didn't. So when and we're let's go ahead and jump into some of the Rams news a little bit. So we'll segment to we lost Raheem Morris a few weeks ago to the Atlanta Falcons. So
Falcons.
congratulations,
Yep.
Raheem, for finally making it over there. You're going to be really missed. I love the energy, things like that. But during that vacancy, when we're trying to fill in that DC, the question has been, should Brandon Staley come back to the Rams? And I honestly thought no. I thought we needed someone, not him. You look back at his time in 2020 when the Rams had the best defense really in the league that year. But was it him as the coach or was it the players themselves? I mean, you can that's my question to you, I guess. Is it something where Brandon Staley was the coach that schemed right for the players, or did the players scheme right for the coach? And so I don't know. What are your thoughts about that?
I think it was a little bit of both. I thought his scheme was new enough. It caught the NFL kind of by surprise. It was a tweak of the Vangio scheme, and it just really took a lot of offenses off guard and was able to kind of clamp them down for the most part.
It just seems like kind of what you said about like him being the head coach with the Chargers, that his defense wasn't really there. And when you're a defensive coordinator having one of the best defenses and then you become a head coach, you would assume your defense with a good roster would continue that upward trajectory, and it just never seemed like it did. I know he was risky a lot of times, like a lot of the stuff that he did as a head coach, he lost because he bet on going on fourth down or trying for a touchdown when he should have gone for a field goal, things like that. Um, but at the same time, I wasn't impressed as his head coaching career to make him come back as our DC.
Yeah, I'm someone I don't think you should fully judge someone's job as a head coach to how they will be as a coordinator. I think those are two different positions with slightly different skill sets where like if you're a great coordinator, you could be a great coach, but neither one means you'll be great at the other, depending on the type of person you are and the situation you're in. So a lot of factors go into it. It's complicated, but the Rams went in a different direction, a direction they haven't gone typically with Sean McVay.
Yeah, so Sean McVay actually went internally for the first time since really joining the Rams to pick a coordinator. W- uh, he picks Chris Shula, which is now his seventh year with the Rams. So McVay's had him on his roster since he's joined the team, and um, he was the linebackers coach and the pass rush coach of the past. So really interesting move here. What do you expect from this?
Well, so there's been a good amount of reporting by Jordan Rodriguez. She did a great job of highlighting him as a candidate, like a month or two ago, in the like in case Morris left. And she basically said like he's been moving around all over the organization. Clearly, like I'm trying to prep him potentially for a position like this. So we will see. He's coached under all three of our defensive coordinators before this. So his kind of I'm sure the scheme won't be too wildly like crazy different. But we'll see how much of his own brand he puts on the defense and like how does he like to do the two-man shell? Will he put more man in there? Will he do more zone blitzes? Will he do more man blitzes? Like, what exactly is his philosophy? And the fun thing about this year is we won't really know until the start of the season.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like he may kind of keep more of the same structure that Raheem Morris had. But just knowing that this guy has been under Wade Phillips, he was under Brandon Staley, he was under Raheem Morris. Like he has been following along this awesome trajectory of great DCs within the Rams organization, and I'm just so excited to see what his fresh take on it. Um, he has good energy. I mean, that's the one thing that maybe I would say was kind of lacking from the Brandon Staley was like he's a good guy, and I have no, but like I loved Raheem Morris's energy. He was always so upbeat and so excited for his guys, and he's a player's coach and things like that. And I think I saw a lot of the same stuff from Shula too. And so I'm really excited to see where he has to go. The other fun fact that I have about Chris Shula is um, I went to Ball State University, and he was actually coaching at Ball State for some of the period of time
Ooh.
that I was there going to school. So I thought that was a pretty cool fact.
Cardinals, right?
He
Are they Ball State Cardinals?
Ball State Cardinals, yeah.
Yep.
But him and McVay have been friends for a long time. They actually played with each other at Miami of Ohio um, at the same time, so that's kind of cool. So this kind of friendship trajectory that he has, I'm glad that McVay's kind of trying to take it from within, seeing if he can grow his internal staff, and I think giving Shula this experience is going to be really good for this team.
Yeah, and let me just note on that. I think it's always great, and I love the fact the Rams organization as a whole is embracing like letting their people grow. And if they can't get a internal position, which historically we haven't hired internally, letting them grow in supporting them moving on in higher roles in other organizations. I feel like sometimes and this can be private and public sector, people are so afraid of letting people grow and progress past their positions and jobs. And it sucks to let go and lose some really good talent, but I feel like if you foster that environment, good talent will find you because you're constantly trying to push and propel people, and people love that type of environment. It's more positive. It's just better overall for work culture, at least I believe. And maybe you have different take on it, Zach. But I just love that fact from this Rams culture in the way they try to push these coaches even into other teams and higher positions, and they vouch for him. And it's fun. It sucks a little bit having to feel that stuff. I know McVay like doesn't love having to constantly even rehire his coffee boy because his coffee boy just got a head coaching gig. But it's just, it's really positive thing.
It is, and it's kudos to Sean McVay. It's a kudos to the Rams organization to really build that quality culture that we keep harping on. Um, it just seems like the Rams are doing it right. They may have a bad season, but then you come to the next year, it's a rebuild year, and they're putting their players first. They're getting their players organized, and then you become a 10-7 team, go into the playoffs, and for a rebuild year when you don't have the cap space, you're only relying on rookies, things like that. And then you can have still a rookie of the year, rookie offensive player of the year, and rookie defensive player of the year for accolades as well. So very interesting to see how this offseason is going to play out. So we won't really know how Chris Shula is going to actually handle the situation. Obviously, until things come out and we actually see how the defense plays. He does have a little bit of experience calling plays. He did a lot of that in the preseason this past year, which is what Sean McVay typically does. He lets some of his coordinators do some of the calls just to kind of get the feel for that spot. Rams did
You
lose
want to
out on. Oh,
talk?
sorry. Go
Oh,
ahead.
I was just gonna say, did you want to talk about your favorite unit next, special teams, or
Why
which
don't you
direction?
handle this one? I don't know. I don't know if I can talk about special teams.
Yeah, so the Rams hire Chili Davis as assistant special teams coach. Yeah, Zach. I mean, I'm gonna be honest. I can't believe our special teams coordinator still has a job. I'm gonna be frank. It was. I don't see 2020 had such a bad kicking rotation to it that like I'm like, oh, that's the worst special teams I've seen, like for the Rams. And then we go into this year, and it was just like everything was just a nightmare outside of Ethan Evans, just so historically bad. And people keep on bringing up, but we had a good last game, and like they didn't completely lose us the playoff game. Yeah, that's a bare minimum. They did the bare minimum for 2 games, and the rest of the season, they definitely probably lost us 2 or 3 games. So
Yeah.
I don't know, Zach. I just think that entire like people can say, and I know Jordan Rodriguez in her podcast kind of talked about like the roster was very depleted, and weren't a lot of there were a lot of rookies playing on defense, which is where a lot of your special teams players come from, and it's still not acceptable because that coach is picking the players that are going to backfill on special teams,
Yeah.
and
I
it's not an excuse for the fifth worst special teams in NFL history. It'd be one thing if we were like 20th or even 23rd and we were just bad. We were historically NFL historic bad, and that is unacceptable.
Yeah, and obviously it came mostly with the kicking situation, and we don't need to go ahead and rehash that. Hopefully, that will go through, and we'll hopefully find some gems, maybe with this upcoming draft, to actually fill that spot. Obviously, I think Maher's technically still on the roster
The
as of right now.
coverage for
So
the punt and kicking returns were awful too. Like, let's just be.
they were,
Can you tell me
and I
how
think
many
so too. But
times?
yeah, I mean, it was bad. I mean, that's probably the one area that I think suffered. I mean, even though, yes, you're right that most of our special teams unit is kind of picked from, the secondary units and stuff like that. But again, when you're limited in your cap space and you have only so much that you can do, I think that's the one area of last year that really hurt from not having a good salary cap. When you have to play your rookies as your first team, you don't have the ability to utilize them in other ways. I mean, you think about it when you look at wide receivers, Puka Nakua, if we actually had, two or three normal, second, third year, fourth year wide receivers, Puka may not have played if Cooper Cup was fully healthy in the first couple games. Um, we don't know. I mean, you don't know how how things were going to go, but he could have been on special teams. Maybe he would have been great on special teams. We won't ever know because that didn't happen. Uh, but I think this year, I think
Yeah.
they'll get it right, and I would give based on the information that we know now, I think you can give that year a pass for our coordinator, our special teams coordinator, and um, let's see how this year goes. Now, if this year is another complete mess, then we're gonna need to figure something else out. But I think the salary cap situation and the way we had to utilize our rookies more as first team players. Again, we had Puka Nakua, we had Kobe Turner. We
Connor.
had all these. We had we had all these players that were playing, their first year here on this team, and they weren't being able to be utilized also on the special teams. So I think it just trimmed that down a little bit. Well, we also hired a new coordinator of football strategy, John Stryker. Interesting. Interesting. Stryker
Um,
was the Titans director of football administration. Um, and he started off as an assistant head coach under Vrabel in 2018 and held that position for 2 years.
he's
Nothing?
gonna do football stuff. I mean, I'm
Yeah,
guessing
I'm sure.
he's gonna probably direct different like scouts, look into like balance of like different aspects of the team, player
Yeah, I mean, I could see him
position,
being
stuff like that.
more of a statistical guy who's kind of looking at that kind of, those situational areas of, should you go for it if you were given X, Y, or Z, should you go for it? Kind of be, you know, Sean McVay's maybe like second analytical brain. Is kind of how I may think of it, just based on that title.
Yeah.
So maybe somebody else just to kind of bounce ideas off of without, being the offensive or defensive.
Yeah, should be cool, I guess. We'll see if he does anything or not. Who knows?
Um, all right, so kind of let's talk about kind of where we're looking at now, because really our sights are now finally set on 2024. The 2023 season is over, the Super Bowl is done. Now we need to move to 2024. And how can the Rams get us back into the playoffs, back to getting a divisional win, back into getting the Super Bowl ring?
Yeah.
And so I've kind of highlighted some positions I think we really need to focus on. I want to know what your thoughts are. Obviously, we talked about special teams, kicker. This isn't in any order, but obviously, we need to address the kicking situation.
Hmm.
Edge. We really need to set the edge. If I think one of the big flaws of our defense was we could not get pressure on the quarterback, and that all
Consistent
starts
pressure. Yeah.
consistent. Yeah, consistent.
Yeah.
We had some good flashes and things like that, but like you said, consistent. Um, we need to look at our secondary. We really need to look at that cornerback position and really identify which players are we going to keep and which ones do we need to find different players for. Obviously, we brought in Witherspoon, and he was kind of the obviously I would have been terrified if we didn't have Witherspoon on the field. Even though he did have some bad games, I was really glad we had him on the field. He's a veteran cornerback, and really I think helped make that defense better than maybe it looked at some periods of time. How are you feeling about the quarterback position?
Definitely let me touch on kicker. I think that's going to be something they address in the draft, either in the 5th, 6th, 7th round, kind of depending.
Not the third round.
No,
just kidding.
That kicker didn't help him. He missed a point in the Super Bowl, so I'm just gonna put that out there. But yeah, definitely on edge. That's my biggest priority in free agency. I think you have to pay a veteran edge. The fact that your D line has the majority of your sacks out of your defensive front is not good. I mean, it is good in the sense that we have D linemen that can have pressure. Kobe Turner turned it up in the latter half of the season, and Aaron Donald is Aaron Donald. So if we have Aaron Donald and Aaron Donald Jr. on D line, we just need some people to kind of flush out the rest of the line, and our 4-man front can be vicious. You just need that 4th guy. I really like Byron Young. I hope he continues to kind of develop, and we'll kind of see. I think that could be a round 1 type of pick. Now, cornerback. I am more of a contrarian view on cornerback this year than most of the fan base. I understand that. I genuinely think they did better than people give them credit for. Now, I do think this needs to be a priority in the offseason. It is concerning the lack, especially in the latter half of the season, lack of growth from the younger DBs. And I'm sure the front office has kind of like similar views of that. And that isn't just for DK. That's also for Kobe Durant. He had such a good 22 season. He kind of fell off a cliff, Zach. He didn't get any snaps, and the snaps he played were, let's be frank, pretty bad. They were even worse than DK. And Witherspoon is a free agent, so I have no clue. I would expect 2 picks in the first 5 rounds, is kind of what I'm looking at. And guys, just talking about drafting stuff, free agency, I think we'll talk a little bit more about than the draft specifically, because me and you, especially this year, we didn't watch a lot of college football, so we don't want to talk about stuff completely uninformed. We will talk about the makeup of the draft, what positions we would like the Rams to go in, and kind of do a similar format to how we did it last year. And we'll bring on people who have a little bit more expertise. We will, shall say, and kind of drill them on who are the best kind of prospects for us. And, let's just say our guest last year, Zach, did some really good scouting. I mean, Kobe Turner was one. I think Puka got a shout out, especially not like he was going to be or Kobe Turner was going to be, but overall, like we had some gems that our guest talked about.
Yeah, and I'm so glad that we get to bring on some more guests. We got some more on the docket, so really excited for that. But yeah, I'm kind of on the same page with you. I really want to see them go out and look for a veteran edge rusher in free agency rather than immediately get somebody early on in the draft. I'd rather them look at some of the other pieces that I think we really need and try to use some of the cap space now that we have back at that spot for the edge. Other things that I think that we're going to be looking for in the draft is we're going to look at reevaluate our offensive line. Specifically, we're going to look towards the left tackle and maybe even that center spot. And
even
again,
right
I want sure, but I want Dotson. I want to keep Dotson. he is the one player that I want to keep from our free agent list, and I was going to go through that here in a minute.
I don't know if we
Of
can
those
afford him,
players.
though. So that's.
I know, but when you want to protect Matthew Stafford, it's worth it. I think it's worth it.
They're cheap on the O line. Let's just be honest here with ourselves. Let's like to spend money on certain positions. O line is not one of them unless if it's Note Boom, which
obviously was
did not age.
Not the highest quality. And so it's just one of those things that I really want them to look at the left tackle, the center. Obviously, we can find depth pieces, but I really think when I'm looking at free agency, I really want them to, if you're trying to keep someone on this Rams roster, we're going to go through that list here in just a second. I want it to be Dotson. So let's talk about that real quick. Rams unrestricted free agents going into the offseason. So these are the unrestricted free agents. You have Tremaine Ankrum, you have Kevin Dotson, you have Jordan Fuller, another free agent that I hope that we can kind of keep back. Bryson Hopkins, John Johnson III, Laurel Murchison, Troy Reader, Demarcus Robinson, Duke Shelley, Carson Wentz, Jonah Williams, and Akella Witherspoon. Those are our unrestricted free agents. Our restricted free agents are Christian Rosebroom, Michael Hoyt, Alaric Jackson, Ronnie Rivers, and Austin Trummel. I hope that we keep Alaric Jackson. I do think that he's a good piece. Whether the starting piece, not sure. But again,
he's good.
I want to keep him as far as
in a pinch situation for a game or two. Great player.
So yeah, if I'm looking at my unrestricted free agents, I really want to keep Dotson. I really want to keep Fuller. Obviously Wentz would be a good backup if he doesn't find another spot out there. I think the Rams could keep him again
he's
cheaply,
gonna be
but
too
again,
expensive. I think he's going to get like 3 or 4 if he's a backup.
Sure, but that's someone else having to be willing to pay it. And if someone else is willing to pay it, then sure, be my guest. We could probably find somebody. All right. I think that's about it as far as that goes. As far as our draft picks go, we currently have 5 comp picks. And our first one is going to be in the first round for the first time in this podcast's lifetime.
As of now.
I still think we're going to have a first rounder. I really do.
Ooh, do you? That sounds. I'm tempted to bet you on that.
I don't know. I think we might. There's some rounds. There's some things that we can talk about, and
apparently that's an in-office joke. In-office joke in the Rams front office. They're like, "We're picking the first round for now." For now.
Right.
So
right.
that's kind of funny.
So Combine's coming up. All right, 2024 Combine. It's going to be here in Indianapolis. Right now, Indianapolis is just kind of swarming, I feel like, with all these different things. We've got the All-Star game going right now. Not mad that I got stuck in 2 hours of traffic, but it's fine. But in 2 weeks, we got the Combine coming back, and I'm so excited that it's coming back to Indianapolis, and it's going to be here for again in 2025. Super excited that I'll get to go scout out, check out some of the prospects. Mostly going to try to go to the Saturday one, which is going to be the quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, things like that. I'm really excited for that. Hopefully, if you guys are making it to town, please let us know so that we can meet up, and it would be really cool to meet some Rams fans, some fellow East Coast Rams fans, things like that. So, but let's talk about that. So the one question I put in our show notes was, who do you think the Rams should go at the first pick? And I'm not I'm not going to put you on the spot about that, but I did bring up some prospects that I've kind of been scouting around the internet on who we could get. In one from CBS Sports was quarterback J.J. McCarthy from Michigan. How do you feel about getting a quarterback pick 19?
I am not a fan of JJ McCarthy. I don't hate him. I just have no clue how good this kid is going to be. He's been on a stacked Michigan team. From the games I've seen, he looks like he can read coverages decently. He can throw very well, especially short and intermediate. His deep ball kind of gives me concerns. That he is
Sure.
one of those college QBs where I'm like, I don't know. Now, again, he's in college. His weapons aren't like NFL level, so it's like hard to translate whether or not he'll be good in the NFL or not. But yeah, he kind of gives me like Tua Tagovailoa vibes coming out of college, where he was on a stack team. There's a lot of question marks whether or not his stuff can translate, and just he doesn't give me the warm and fuzzies if the Rams pick them, and that's just me being honest. There, I am not against the Rams getting a quarterback in this kind of spot, but him, I'm not the biggest fan.
Yeah,
And again,
it's an interesting
yeah,
just decision about the QB spot in the round one. Obviously, it's someone who you are going to value and think you have somebody who's going to, really, if you're picking a quarterback in the first round, even at 19, you're looking at this is going to be the heir apparent to Stafford when he's gone. Having someone underneath him for a year or two, I really don't think you're going to go pick QB in the first round just for a backup spot. So, but we don't know how many years left we have with Matthew Stafford. He feels like he could probably play for the next 5-10 years if he really wanted to, but I think we're looking a lot sooner than, that 2 years, maybe 3 years. Maybe we can see how much we can keep him, we can Frankenstein him together. But having someone be his understudy for 2 years, I think 1 or 2 years would really help the Rams organization and help him as a player understand the game of the NFL, especially when you still have Cooper Cup and you have Puka Nakua and you have the rest of the Rams organization to kind of boost you. And obviously, we saw what happened last year with Stetson Bennett. We still don't really know what his final outcome is going to be, but it's not looking very likely that he will return as a Ram.
so let me ask you this, Zach, because I've seen this proposed. So a player that I really like in the team I watch South Carolina most, Georgia's the second most. Brock Bowers is projected to go mid rounds. Would you trade a fourth round pick to go up 4 spots to get Brock Bowers at, let's say, pick 15
Well, we don't have a fourth round pick, so
or fifth round pick? Let's say they go fifth round pick.
we
Sneed
do
will
have three of those.
eventually get a fourth round pick.
That's funny. Yeah, so it would be interesting. I mean, I wouldn't mind trading up if we're going to get a high quality quarterback. And again, it's someone who will be for the most part. I mean, if you know you're going to pick
Brock
somebody
Bowers is a
quarterback in the
tight
first
end.
battle. Oh, tight end. I'm sorry. I thought we were still
Tight.
talking about quarterbacks.
Uh,
Um,
no, he's a monster tight end. Like
okay.
that dude is a tank. And
I mean,
Higby is hurt. I know
yes.
we saw. I love Davis Allen. Don't get me wrong. I thought he was fantastic. I think he has a bright future. So that's why I don't think the Rams will ultimately go after a tight end, especially in the first round.
Yeah. That's
But
that's where I was
Bowers
heading.
is a monster.
Yeah, obviously with Higby being injured, I think the Rams obviously know more of the timetable than we do on when he's going to be coming back. It seems like it's going to be midway through the season just based on the injury that he had. And obviously right now you also have Bryson Hopkins who's a free agent. So really you really got you got one tight end. I guess you have two because you have Hunter Long. Um,
Yeah, but he's going to be hurt. So, like, the big thing is they love two tight end sets. You need a
yeah,
tight end, anyways.
sure.
Uh, and to have a 3 year pairing of Davis Allen and this monster of a tight end that I really think uh, could be a potential top 10 tight end in the NFL. I don't know if he'll be top 5, but I really think he has all the attributes of being a high caliber tight end. Great
Yeah,
blocking, and I think that's
sure.
what McVay like. They would love to have Brock Bowers on this team, and
Yeah, I
they
mean, that's why
wanted a
they love
tight end
Higbee.
last year.
Yeah. I mean, that's why they
They
love Higbee. I mean, Higbee is a tough player who, will go out and tackle and, he will do everything for you. And that's why they signed him again. They love him so much and they love his ability that he can get out there. It's just the injury proneness now. And now that he's injured and going to be out for halfway through the season, it's going to be interesting to see what they do to replace that.
Yeah, they tried to trade up in the first round last year to get tight end, so I definitely think the potential
Possibility.
there is there. Yeah, but there's a few edges on your list. Kool-Aid McKinstry, we can talk about him a little bit.
Yeah.
Alabama cornerback. Everything I've seen from him when I watched 2 Alabama games last year, and very impressed with what he did. Uh,
Man,
Interested to
what a,
see if he can transfer it
man,
to the NFL.
we have Puka, we could have Kool-Aid. Man, we got some names. I mean, I really would like a Rams jersey with Kool-Aid on the back. Um, that'd be kind of
Yeah,
cool.
yeah, yeah, that'd be a little fun. Are there
Got the Kool-Aid
any?
man running through.
Yeah,
No, I mean, like,
Bo.
sorry, go ahead.
What would you think about Bo Nix? He's the other big quarterback that's kind of been rumored to fall to where the Rams are picking.
Again, like I said, I'm I'm looking to see what can help us build this team and what are we trying to do? Are we trying to win a Super Bowl now or later? And right now, I think the Rams want to win it now. And so I don't think we're going to get a quarterback in the first round. Um, not this year. If we were talking, I don't know. I would have said maybe if we had a first round pick last season, we may have picked up a quarterback in the first round. Um, but right now, I really think we're going to focus on Matthew Stafford and his protection. We're going to focus on the offensive line. We're going to focus on the defensive line. I think those are the main areas that I think we're going to see them really focus on um, in the first 2 rounds. Even though I think, like I said, the cornerback position, Kool-Aid, Quinion Mitchell with Toledo, all names that have been floated out there as potentials for the Rams to get in round 1. So those are just kind of my initial thoughts, just kind of doing some scheming this week. Obviously, over the next several weeks, and the combine's going to be coming up, and we'll kind of dissect some of the performances that come out of there. But I think this is a good base to start off with, just kind of get our minds thinking and things like that. So we'll scour the internet. We'll do our research the best we can on some of these draft picks. And then we'll also start breaking down some of the free agencies picks that are going to be out there, who we're going to look at. Was it Brian Burns? Is he still a free agent that we could potentially pick up?
No, I think Brian Burns still has 1 more year on his contract, but there's a lot of it's
Trade
basically one of
talks.
those that he's gonna probably want to get traded before he resigns, and they
Yeah.
don't want to. You lose a lot of leverage by waiting until halfway through that last year of the contract to trade. Like you don't have any leverage. You're gonna have to either pay him a lot or you're gonna have to trade him for a lot less value than what you would get now, basically.
Yeah.
Because now I think you're looking at the second or third uh, picks, maybe a few of those bundled together. And if you wait until halfway through the year, I wouldn't see a team unless if they're desperate giving you anything more than a third, a late third. But we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. But I think we're going to wrap it up with this week's episode of the East Coast Rams podcast. Thank you so much again for all those who have subscribed to the podcast, whether you do it on YouTube, whether you do it on Spotify, whether you do it on Apple Music, whichever podcast app you want. we've got you covered. You can find us on the social medias. You can find us on X. You can find us on Instagram. You can find us on Threads. You can find all of us. Just go to eastcoastrams.com. That's where you find all of our social media platforms, where you find our YouTube channel. It's just we're building this great community, and I'm really excited to see what our future has. I'm not going to toot our own horn, but I think that we just continue to get better and better and better each and every week. And now we're entering our 4th season. I think we're starting to get this down to a science. So Ashton, thank you again for being on and co-hosting this project with us. You gonna cover anything else before we wrap it up?
No, man. I'm looking forward to doing a lot of talking about a lot of different fun topics like free agency, the draft, going through. I want to eventually do grades during the off season for the offense and defense, and we definitely have stuff to talk about. This team is never not interesting, and that is a blessing for this podcast. They give us a lot of content. You guys give us a lot of content, and just want to thank everyone. It is a real treat and reward, all the love you guys have given us, and you spend time investing watching our content, and we love making it. So I look forward to a fantastic year, and here's to another season, man. Time flies.
It does fly, man. 4 seasons. It's crazy. But like Ashton says, like, we really do this for you. The more effort, the more people who watch us, the more effort we get to put into this show. And so we're just super excited to see where this podcast continues to grow. And yeah, like I said, I'm super excited. I'm super proud to be with this guy. One final thing, down below, make sure you like this video. If you watch the video, please down in the comments, who do you guys think we should take in the first round of the draft? What position do you think we should look towards? We want to know this so that we could read them on the next episode of the East Coast Rams podcast. So again, thank you guys, and we will catch you all next time.